Hello everyone, it's me Lemoni. Happy Monday. I hope you had a wonderful holiday. I want to start off today by giving you a little apology, okay? I did give you what I thought was the best 1.2 PvE healing meta in my most recent PvP PvE 1.2 healing video that I put out last week. With some testing, some things I did off stream, some things I did on stream, I have figured out a little bit of a better way to actually maximize our Void Gauntlet healing and some other ways to do some life staff healing. And so I want to come today, again, with this apology and give you the best way that I believe you can PvE heal in patch 1.2. If you go to the video and you look at, attributes, PvP, all of that stuff still, everything's still good. And even the PvE build I give you isn't bad. It's still really solid. There is two little things that I change on my Void Gauntlet to make it absolutely absurd for PvE healing, pumping out extra damage, pumping out extra healing, getting multiple essence ruptures out, multiple orbs, and chain oblivions. This is something I just simply overlooked. So again, I apologize, but I hope you can find it in your big, beautiful heart to forgive me. So today, I just want to give you that. I'm going to touch on the trees again. I'll give you a different option for the life staff. I'll talk about how you can best use this new Void Gauntlet setup, give you some rotational things, just some general gameplay, so that you can succeed as a PvE healer in patch 1.2. Before we get started, I just want to say a couple things. One, we're doing a giveaway. If you haven't heard about it, check out my most recent video about hitting 15K subs, and again, thank you for that. But head over to my Twitter, see my most recent tweet, follow our Twitter, retweet the tweet. We'll be pulling 3 winners on the 3rd of January, 2022 for 3 $25 Amazon gift cards that you can hopefully use for skins in game or whatever else you want to use for the game. I just want to start giving back to all of you. As always, if you could like, comment, subscribe, do that weird YouTube stuff, ring the bell, tell your grandma, your grandpa, everybody you know, I'd appreciate it. So thank you. Next, if you want to join the Discord, hit the link in the description. Follow the Twitch, we'll be streaming today. Follow TikTok, Twitter, all that stuff, all the socials. And if you want to support me directly, I do have a Patreon. Last thing, if you want to join our company on Eden, feel free to send me a Discord DM, hit me up in Twitch, hit me up out in the world. Let me know. We're looking to grow the company even more. So thank you for everything. Now, let's get into this video. What am I doing differently with my Void Gauntlet? Well, one, I'm taking a different ultimate that allows me to chain multiple oblivions, giving my group more damage and more healing from Essence Rupture, giving me multiple orbs, giving me the opportunity to Essence Rupture multiple targets, and a way to heal myself without actually having to swap over to the life staff so I can maintain these stacks that I have to manage. Now, is it more of a difficult, more active style of healing? For sure. I'm not saying it's easy. There's a lot of things to manage, but I wanted to give you all the information I possibly could so that you could start doing it as well, especially with challenge mode dungeons around the corner. So please accept my apology. Let's start this Monday off on a high note. And let's get into some build deep dives like normal, where I talk a lot, probably too much, but give you all the info you need to know for healing in PvE for patch 1.2. All right, so I'm not going to go too in-depth with this. If you want to see my really in-depth explanation of the life staff healing, go check out the patch 1.2 video that I put out last week. But what do? Healing side will always stay the same. It's just the way it is in the current meta, and things do need to be changed on it. We'll take Absolved so we don't use mana, Mending Touch to remove debuffs because that's really valuable in PvE, Blissful Touch healing. This will heal anywhere from 5 to 700. Do not underestimate the amount of healing it does, PvE and PvP wise. We'll take Sacred Ground. This is going to be one of our most effective heals. We let people sit in it. It ticks for a ton, but it also increases all healing by 50% when they're in it. Desperate Speed and Revitalize. These are key. Getting reduced cooldowns is super nice, especially if you run the second build we're going to discuss and combo it with Refreshing Move. We'll then go into Intensify for extra healing effectiveness, and then we'll take Sacred Protection to just give 5% more healing to everybody, Divine Blessing for more healing, and then in PvE, personally, what I've been doing recently is I just take Orb of Protection. I think with Beacon, typically I'm overhealing, but that's what's going to be in the other build. So it's nice to have this Fortify and this heal over time. Mine, when I full snapshot it, hits for like 320-ish, so having this tick for like 12 seconds with the Fortify for another 22-ish seconds, it gives you a lot of wiggle room for when you run that Void Gauntlet. And then the Void Gauntlet healing kind of supplements it. And the big thing is you need to keep your Void Gauntlet on for a little bit so that you can chain Oblivions and get enough stacks and get enough cooldown reduction. So Orb is a great way also of maintaining yourself while also giving your group some maintenance because of shared protection when I heal somebody else with it, I also get that heal over time, that fortify, making it a little bit easier when I have the Void Gauntlet on and I'm taking all my health away trying to reduce my cooldowns. Next, Bend Light, easiest snapshot in the game. Protector's Touch, free fortify to keep us alive. Protector's Strength, 10% more healing. And then Light's Embrace, the absolute strongest heal in the game. This is the setup I would do for Orb of Protection healing. If you want to use Orb, you want to give yourself and some group maintenance just to make it easier to use the Void Gauntlet and make sure you're not overhealing and also pumping out a little bit more damage with Orb of Protection, this is the build I would use. So if you're coming from the bookmark, this is the high maintenance, easier Void Gauntlet usage build, probably a little bit less punishing than the second build we're going to talk about. So I would highly suggest this for more beginner styles of play, but also if you're just worried about overhealing. Now, this second version of the Life Staff, I will say, is if you need to do even more healing, you need to pump out a ton of heals, but you have Refreshing Move on your Life Staff. Now, let me tell you why. On our healing side, it's going to be important. It's going to stay the same. But the big reason is because of Desperate Speed and Revitalize. So I currently have Will of the Ancients from Lazarus, the absolute best in slot Life Staff. It comes with Refreshing Move. Now, the big thing with Refreshing Move is it makes our light attacks and our heavy attacks give cooldown reduction. And when I'm using something like Beacon now for insane amounts of healing on my group, it gets really important to reduce cooldowns because this is a 35-second baseline cooldown. So with Refreshing Move, it gives me that flat percent when I light or heavy attack. In general, I have no ways to reduce cooldowns based on heavy attacks. That's why Refreshing Move is really nice, so that when we're getting our Intensify stacks, we're still maintaining cooldown reduction. Now, the even more beautiful thing is when you combo that with Revitalize, you throw that 5% on top of what you get from Refreshing Move, and then if you shoot through people like you should be, and you heal somebody below 50% health, you then get a 10% reduction. So baseline, we get 15% here when this procs, but then throw on the rest from Refreshing Move, it's fantastic, right? And then you get more cooldown reduction innately because we can get it from heavy attacks. So if I get a nice light attack, I'm taking almost 20% off of this beacon cooldown when I combo it with all of my cooldown reductions and when I heal somebody below 50%. But even in general, I have almost 10% reduction baseline now with Refreshing Move, taking at least 3.5 seconds off every shot when I have beacon on cooldown. If you're looking for a high output healing build, you have a little bit more maintenance, probably some more life staff time, this is the build I would suggest. But what you could do is just throw out your Void Gauntlet stuff, get your Chain Oblivions, and then just swap to the life staff for a little bit, shoot off a couple light attacks, keep beacon rolling because it's going to be rolling for 15 seconds regardless. You should be able to keep pretty much 100% beacon uptime even with the Void Gauntlet stuff going on. So for more healing, or maybe you're just a life staff main and don't really, want to use the Void Gauntlet. And with that being said too, you could use the other build, but this is just another option. If you are more comfortable using Beacon, use this setup. If you're more comfortable using Orb, use the other setup. So if you're coming from the bookmark, I would highly suggest using this build. If you have Refreshing Move on your life staff, you want a ton of healing, and you just prefer the Beacon style of play. Me personally, even with Refreshing Move, I do a ton of Void Gauntlet healing, and so I like having Orb of Protection on myself. So totally up to you, but I wanted to give you two options. All right, so here's where some of the big changes come in. If you want the real in-depth deep dive discussion of why we're choosing this, head over to my other video and I'll talk about each point. But to sum it up, what we want is high crit so that we can get more cooldown reduction so that we can maintain things a little bit easier. But the goal is we're going to be using Glimpse of the Void now. So on the Annihilation side, we take all the crit chance things that we can. Extra crit chance while above 50% health, cooldown reduction on crit. We'll then take crit chance when all abilities are on cooldown, and we'll max out Oblivion. Big things with Oblivion to note. Gives damage over time, empower to all your allies. When you hit things that are inside of it, it gives a 5% 3-stack weaken for 5 seconds per hit. And then we get stamina per second for self and friendlies while in the radius. Fantastic stuff there. We'll then take Refreshing Frailty to get more cooldown reduction. And then we'll take Leeching Agony just for a little bit of personal maintenance, just in case you get a crit. It does help when you launch out your orb and get that extra damage. So that's something you can do. You could flex this point into a lot of different things, but that's just typically what I do for my setup. Now, the big change. We go to the decay side, we still take orb, we take the reduced mana cost, we still take Refreshing Harvest because this is kind of the bread and butter of the build. We need to keep using Harvest Essence so that we can get our cooldowns down. We'll take Essence Rupture, get all of our healing, get the 80% burst. This is the strongest heal in the game. We will now take Mending Evasion and then go into Glimpse of the Void. So why is this good? Dodging with full mana heals you for 80% weapon damage, scales exclusively with Focus, also scales with Blast. 20-second cooldown. So when I'm sitting there going like this at the beginning of a fight and my health's getting a little bit low, I can do a quick dash while I'm doing it and get a free 2k heal. It's like I just popped a health pot and I don't have to switch off my Void Gauntlet. Now, why is it important to not switch off the Void Gauntlet? That's because of Glimpse of the Void. So you gain a stack of Void Essence per successful ability hit. At 4 or more stacks, your next successful ranged heavy attack will reset all Void Gauntlet cooldowns, removing your stack's 15-second cooldown. So if you switch back to the Life Staff, you lose whatever stacks you've built. Now, why is it important? Well, the only way we're generating stacks is through Orb of Decay and Essence Rupture, meaning within this 20-second window, we can only get 2 stacks. But then if we get crits, we can reduce these down. If we sit there with Refreshing Harvest, this is what actually allows us to do it, because if we were just to wait baseline, our stacks would fall off if we had no cooldown reduction. So we need to keep the Void Gauntlet out so that what we can do, and I'll give you a little rundown in a second, but what I'll do to start the fight is I'll Oblivion, start doing, my cooldown reduction, but I'll throw out Orb, throw out Essence Rupture, gives me 2 stacks. I'll do my Harvest Essence, sit there, cooldown reduction, cooldown reduction, cooldown reduction. It will bring these back online, meaning I can hit them again, putting me at 4 stacks, but right at that point, I'll have another Oblivion coming back up, so I'm not going to reset right away. I'll put down my next Oblivion, so there's a decent little gap between first and second Oblivion, but then I'll heavy attack, reset, and as soon as the second Oblivion's down, third one comes online, meaning we have 3 Oblivions within like a 20-second window, which is actually a lot of uptime. So consider that. It's very, very strong for your group. Now you can only do that every 15 seconds, and you have to maintain the group's health. So there's a lot of things going on, but if you can manage that, you pump, and you can carry your group pretty significantly without them actually knowing, but you can be the real PvE expedition carry. So if you're coming from the bookmark, what has changed? We take Glimpse of the Void, we take Mending Evasion for self-maintenance, and yes, you could flex Leeching Agony into some of these other things, maybe, Extended Suffering or Leeching Bolts for extra healing if you want to, but I only heavy attack once and take that critical healing chance. But in general, we're going to be taking Glimpse of the Void to reset Oblivion, reset Orb for extra Orb healing, and resetting Essence Rupture to put it on the second target, or just to maintain 100% uptime. So use this, pump out heals, and be an absolute fiend in PvE healing for expeditions or whatever you choose to do. All right, so let's talk gearing and attributes just really fast here. What do my attributes look like when I'm in my healing setup? This is what I have going on. I only have Int because of my Void Gauntlet that I have on. Other than that, I don't really try to get any Int. You could if you want to pump more damage, but quite honestly, I think pumping more focus will do you better in the long run. If we pump more points into focus, we get more damage on our life staff, we get more healing on our life staff, and we get more damage and healing on our Void Gauntlet. So it's kind of a win-win situation. Try to avoid the Int, put as much as you can into focus. I feel good playing medium armor at 100 con. I don't get one shot by anything. I can take a couple hits. I'm chilling. I have enough fortify. You're good to go. So is it worth actually putting more points over 300 focus? I think so. I notice a damage difference. I notice a healing difference. Do it. Test it for yourself. Let me know how you feel about it. But I will say in every situation possible, I try to just keep focus pumping right now in the current 1.2 meta because it's translating to more damage and healing. How am I this high in my focus? I do eat a 30 focus food. So when I'm eating food, I either eat counter focus. In PvE, I don't really need more health. So I just hit the focus food really fast. That's what I do for PvP as well. Why do I sit at 100 con? I think this is the, enough con to give me as much health as I feel comfortable with and just get a little bit extra bonus for having that max health increase by 10% of our physical armor. This is kind of the attribute setup. I would suggest at least 250 focus, 100 con, and then either focus pump, which is what I would suggest doing, or start looking for more damage. All right, so now for gearing. I am in a 22.9 medium, which puts me at heavy helmet, heavy chest, medium gloves, light pants, medium boots. What are we looking for here? Yes, I have tier 1 onyxes just because I'm cheap and I've been flipping through a lot of gear, so saving money there is nice, and it's not that big of a difference. 1, in PvE, it's nice to have luck, but I'm just running Void Bent because I don't really have any other options at the moment. So I'm going Void Bent helmet, Void Bent chest. It's a decent amount of where my con comes from, and these perks, they help a little bit in PvE, but they're more PvP perks. I'm looking for different helmet and chest options as I get more gear. So keep that in mind. My gloves, not the greatest thing in the world, just extra luck. I don't want those perks at all. Right now, these are basically a luck stat stick. My legs, this has saved me a couple times. I run Accelerating Lights Embrace just for the haste bonus. So if you can fit that into the build, that's perfect. But one of the big ones you should have, Fortifying Sacred Ground. Giving a free fortify while people are standing in your sacred ground is absurd, and having that on an armor piece is more important than having it on a weapon. If you have it on a weapon like your life staff, when you switch, it no longer works. So if I were to pull out my Void Gauntlet, I wouldn't be able to give fortifies. So keep it on an armor piece. Otherwise, what should you be looking for? Mending Protection is always a good one. So when I'm orb healing, I'll try to fit Mending Protection in. Right now, it's just not fitting in my build. I'd love to have it on, chest piece, helmet, gloves. It's a tougher one to find. It does work, but it doesn't show up on your active buff bar. So keep that in mind. It's a little bit more situational too, because it's only 5 seconds. So there's not a lot of room to actually heal off of that, but it does work. What's another one? If you're on Beacon, try to throw in Revitalizing Beacon. This is more for PvP. It has a lot more PvP value than it does PvE value, but it's still a nice thing just to fit in if you can. As far as accessories, on the neck, this is what I have. Health is great just to give you enough to really keep yourself alive, but refreshing is nice. I always say, if you've watched my other videos, what you want is you want the Infinity Crystal roll, but with focus. So Divine is fantastic. You gain more health from all incoming healing effects. Fortified, longer Fortifying Sacred Ground, and then more health. That would be the ideal stat stick roll for an amulet. My ring, the one thing on a ring, you should always have Sacred. If you don't have a ring with Sacred, go and get one. Extra healing. And then my earring, I like having Regenerating and Refreshing Toast. That lower potion cooldown is very, very nice sometimes. We don't really need it with the Void Gauntlet. I'm currently looking for another earring, don't worry, but this is just what I'm running. The ideal best in slot roll for an earring, it's Regenerating, Refreshing, and like Refreshing Toast. Something like that, but Regenerating and Refreshing are the really big ones. As far as weapons go, my Will of the Ancients, Blessed Refreshing move. Best in slot when this rolls 600, I also get Refreshing on it. This, if you didn't know, also has a very high baseline damage roll. If you look, this is only 566. I got a bad version of it, but I went into Genesis and I have a 586 version of Higher Purpose for lower damage. You get 1 more focus, but lose 4 damage. You do get that 1% blessed bonus, but having Refreshing move outscales this exponentially. So if I had an equivalent version, I would have just as much focus and have a significantly higher damage roll. Just something to keep in mind because everything does scale off of our damage. On my Void Gauntlet, it's important to have Blessed. You can't force a Blessed roll on a Void Gauntlet craft. This is a preset, cookie cutter 575 roll that you can get. It is BOE. It does roll with Blessed. If you have high enough Arcana, go and get this. Blessed on your Void Gauntlet is significant. My 502 Void Gauntlet with Blessed was healing just as much as my 600 nothingness. So keep that in mind. I throw diamonds into both of these. Yes, a lot of the time I'm not at max health with my Void Gauntlet on, but I do throw out orbs when I'm at full health for extra healing, and that just synergizes really well with Blessed. As far as consumables, make sure you use like focus potions. These last a minute. A lot of extra mana regen if you need it. Mana potions, health potions, bombs if things get a little sticky for some extra fortify. I also always have a honing stone on. I keep coatings on because if you do more damage as a healer, you're just helping your group a little bit more. And the big one though is having attribute food. I can allot 30 extra points to other things or just pump focus higher because I have an attribute food on. So make sure you use food. Okay, so how do you effectively use Glimpse of the Void? You're gonna wanna hit the target with both Orb and Essence Rupture. This will put a 2-stack little swirly buff on your bar and put down Oblivions as you can. So ideally you'll put down first Oblivion, throw out both of those and get your 2-stack. You'll then just sit there and try to reset the cooldown. As you get your next Orb and Essence Rupture, your next Oblivion should be coming online. You should have reduced your cooldown enough between crits and your Harvest Essence. Put down your second Oblivion. Do not waste your 4-stack Glimpse of the Void when you only have like 3 to 5 seconds left on an Oblivion. Keep resetting it so you can put down your second one, and then as soon as you put down the second one, hit them with the heavy attack, reset Oblivion, wait until your second one is down, and throw the third one back up. So you can go Oblivion 1, reduce cooldown, Oblivion 2, heavy attack, wait, Oblivion 3. And you'll throw in those orbs and essence ruptures in between. Now, this only gets better as you add more targets. This applies Glimpse of the Void stacks for every target hit, and that's why we love Orb. So in any trash pack situation where you have multiple targets, if you throw an Orb through all of them, You can Oblivion, hit them all with an orb, you'll get the 4 stacks if there's 4 targets, so line up your orbs correctly, and then just reset right away, and you don't have that weird downtime. So with more targets, it becomes easier to reset. Okay, so what does the ideal opener rotation look like with the Lifestaff? First, you want to pre-hot with Orb of Protection. You could then put down Sacred Ground, but then we're going to go right into Void Gauntlet play. You want to throw Essence Rupture out, Orb of Protection, and then put down your Oblivion. Ideally, you keep your Void Gauntlet out and keep doing the rotation we just talked about. Orb, Essence Rupture, keep going for another Oblivion. At that point, you hit a 4 stack. I take out my Lifestaff so I can throw out a Light's Embrace in this little clip, and make sure that you do that. Do not hard focus on just using your Void Gauntlet to the point where your teammates get killed. Make sure that you are still a healer. But the ideal opening rotation would be as follows. You Orb of Protection, Sacred Ground if you want, maintain that health, but then pull out your Void Gauntlet, have Essence Rupture and Orb on them no matter what. If you have to switch back to the Lifestaff, then it's okay. But if you can keep the Void Gauntlet on, put down Oblivion, then just keep forcing cooldowns with Harvest Essence, wait for your next Essence Rupture and Orb, try to get to 4 stack, then wait for your next Oblivion, then use your cooldown reset and get the 3rd Oblivion so that you can keep that rotation going. Otherwise, just maintain health with Orb, Sacred Ground, and you can pretty much do that for the most part, but if anybody needs a quick burst heal, feel free to use your Light's Embrace. I think the biggest thing to keep in your mind is do not hard tunnel on Void Gauntlet. You will do tons of vicarious damage through your team with your Oblivions and just the stacking dots that you can apply. But at heart, you are still a healer. You have to maintain the group. You can play a little risky like I do, get your health pretty low, keep yourself up with the little mending dash, use Orb to do a lot of your healing, and make sure Essence Rupture is up because that will do even more healing than you would imagine. At the end of the day, do everything you can do to heal, but in the optimal situation, you can pump out tons of Oblivions. Okay, so that's the build. I hope you accept that as my apology to you for not giving you the most optimal 1.2 PvE healing setup. I learned, but I needed to give you that so I could, restore my own conscience and feel a little bit better. I hope you give it a shot. Let me know if you do. As always, drop a comment. I'll respond to you. I always will. I'll get back to some of those from over the holiday. If you want to connect with me too, join our Discord. We have over 1,000 people in there. You can send me DMs constantly asking me questions on whatever you want to find out. Follow us on Twitch. We've been really going hard. It's been a ton of fun growing the community. So stop in, learn a couple things, hang out, ask me some questions. Follow us on Twitter. We have a giveaway going, like I said at the start. If you want to be a part of that giveaway, follow me on Twitter and retweet my tweet about the giveaway. Follow us on TikTok. We'll be making some TikToks of little stream clips, things like that. And if you want to support me directly, feel free to hit up my Patreon. So as always, I'm going to list off all my patrons because I think it's important. So thank you, Jacob, Adrian, Thuggius, Shane, Gil, Shmeezy, Anarino, Ajiro, Nathaniel, Thonar, Nicasio, Joseph, Tarvi, Mummy, Generic Guy, Ronan, Ralph, Bob, Florian, Blue Beagle, GDB, J Kitchens, Wentz, Dexter, Rich, Rob, Matthew, Josh, Michelle, Nade, and Rich. Thank you all for your direct support, but thank you to every single one of you just for watching the video. As always, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you all for being you.